Hello, YouTube viewers and hashtag my global family. This is Dre Abeita, the YouTube academic. Thank you for joining me for another episode of hashtag Abeita Critical Thought of the Day. Today is Monday, April 2020, and for millions of Americans, that means it's hashtag 420. Now, why did I want to talk about this very controversial issue for both medical and recreational marijuana? This issue is near and dear to my heart, and honestly, it took me a lot of years to come over with the decision to make this announcement today. I, Dre Abeita, an Isleta Pueblo revolutionary, a survivor of sexual trauma as a child, an educator with 11 years of experience, a social activist, an advocate, and a person who has dedicated the last 11 years of her life to trying to make transformational change in the world. I, Dre Abeita, am a medical marijuana card holder within the state of New Mexico. I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2008 due to a police brutality incident in which I successfully sued the perpetrator. Now, this was not the first incident with PTSD. I unfortunately, as a child, had been diagnosed because I am a survivor of rape and molestation as a child. Now, I talk about these issues of trauma to bring up our lived realities. I experienced that abuse in the 80s, and yet when I did research with Loud Leaders Organizing to Unite and Decriminalize, which was a youth group who were dedicated to transforming the juvenile justice system because they themselves were formerly incarcerated. When I had interviewed youth of our communities who had talked about the same abuse that I had gone through 30 years before, I made a decision that I have to speak out. Last week, I had a conversation with a loving family member who said, wasn't it uncomfortable for me to talk about rape and molestation that happened on my reservation? Wouldn't that make it harder for me to work with Native communities? Well, I tell you, yes, it is hard. It is difficult being a revolutionary. It is difficult being an activist. But we have to make these stands because our children and our grandchildren and our nieces and nephews are relying on us to make the change that our families have been working for hundreds of years. I stand before you, and I'd like for you to take a look at abeitaconsulting.com. I've been making a difference in my community for over a decade. I have dedicated the last 15 years of my life educating our youth and our adults to help them make sense of their own lived experiences and to stop blaming themselves and to deconstruct these constructs of shame. Why do we have to feel shame for ourselves? Medical marijuana saved my life. And I am not using hyperbole. I am not over-exaggerating this. So as a child and as a survivor, I came up with coping mechanisms to keep myself safe. I was almost 300 pounds 3 years ago. I was 286 pounds and I was killing myself at 35 years of age. Now I stand before you 39 years old. I'm also a recent recipient of gastric bypass. This September 11th will be my 3-year anniversary. I have worked incredibly hard to keep that weight off because that was a new lease on life. I had damage in my legs, I had damage in my eyes, I had hemorrhaging, and I was literally afraid of going blind someday. I've had numerous family members because I am Native American who have lived with diabetes, and my great-grandmother had 2 of her feet removed. I'm speaking to you today about medical marijuana because I need for you to think differently. I'm an Ivy League graduate from Dartmouth College. I'm a revolutionary scholar activist, and I'm a leader of my community, and I smoke weed. Now, why should I feel shame for that? Why should I have to hide for something that allows me to function and to bring so much to our community? Because I am tired of hiding in the shadows. I am tired of my friends who are doctors and lawyers and educators and architects and who are serving our communities and putting their lives on the line every day to have to hide for a medicine, to have to hide for something that gives their lives back. I refuse to allow this society to no longer define who I am. I, Dre Abeita, love myself. I am a survivor of rape and trauma. I am a survivor of police abuse. I am a survivor of a predatory academic relationship in which I had to learn that no white male, no academic, no person in this world was gonna make sense of it for me, was gonna answer the questions and make everything okay. I had to go through all of that pain, and I had to go through that trauma, and I had to grow my self-confidence because I thought myself worthless. I gained almost 300 pounds because I was hiding from the trauma of my past. I did not see that I had a future or that I was worthy of love. And thank God for my family. Thank you for my friends' ancestors, because I talk to them every day and I practice my cultural beliefs and healing epistemologies. And I am a confident warrior, activist, and I am walking coyote, like our ancestors told hero stories about. I am proud to be who I am, and I use medical marijuana to make sure that I am mentally well, that I am practicing self-care, and that it is not a drug that is going to destroy our society, but rather a life-giving medication. Through my advocacy work, I've worked with numerous families who literally talk about medical marijuana giving back their children to them. I have talked to veterans who have shrapnel and live in constant pain, who now use CBD and medical marijuana to ease their pains and live pain-free for the first time in 20 years. I ask you, do our people deserve to live in the shadows anymore? I ask you, do our historic atrocities, like the war on drugs, really make sense? Do our draconian laws where we throw away the key for people who are desperate? Why do people turn to drugs? It is because we as a society have failed them. We have failed to address the systemic and institutional barriers like racism and discrimination and Islamophobia. We have failed our most vulnerable people, and it is time that we take responsibility. I stand before you, Dre Abeita, the YouTube academic and medical marijuana card holder, and I ask you, do you really want to criminalize me? Do I, or the millions of Americans who walk and work and love and support you in our communities, deserve to live in the shadows? I ask you to start thinking differently and to start finding humanizing change and to challenge these stereotypes and biases that have hurt so many people. And I ask you to do this with love and hope and understanding in my heart. I love my family so much, and my mother at 70 years old, my other mother at 58 years old, my stepdad at 58 years old. They have come so long and so far with me on this journey, and they have supported me so much that my mother gave me money to make sure that I had enough medication to stock up so that during this global pandemic, I would be all right. My family understands. My friends understand. But I'm asking you, it's not just me, it's your neighbor, it's your kid, it's all of the people who make up our wonderful society. Stop criminalizing me and see me for the beautiful and amazing and powerful person that I am. This is Dre Abeita, the YouTube academic. Thank you so much for tuning in for #Abeita Critical Thought of the Day. Be safe, and as always, I love you, my global family.